All right, guys, first video. So here we go. We're going to be talking about the RainMachine irrigation controllers. The nice thing about these controllers is they're smart devices, which means you control it from an app on your phone. You set everything up through the app. You can set up the programs, the zones, everything, and you can get all the irrigation history, all the water history, the status of the controller, everything directly through the app, which is awesome. And the promise of these devices is that they will pull all of the weather forecast info from your zip code, or for your zip code, I should say. That way you're not watering your lawn an hour before a thunderstorm. And so that's really my goal here is one, reduce my water utilization, and two, reduce my water bill overall, right? And three, hopefully don't kill my lawn. So I went ahead and purchased the TouchHD 12. It's a good controller. I installed it around 3 weeks ago. I don't have a ton of data yet, so I don't have a new water bill. I can't tell you, how much water I've saved before and after. I can't tell you, what my water bill looks like before and after, or if, this thing killed my lawn or not. So this is going to be part one, where we're just going to be talking about the pros and cons and, kind of my initial reactions of the device. But stay tuned for, kind of a part two video, which is probably going to be, I don't know, maybe another month or two away, where I have some data points and I can share additional information about, what does my water utilization look like? How much money did I save? That kind of stuff. So as I said, I had installed the TouchHD 12 probably around 3 weeks back. I pulled out a Rainbird 8-zone irrigation controller, kind of the standard controller that comes with a lot of new houses, and it did the job well, I guess, as good as it could, which is water my lawn twice a week, but it wasn't a smart device. It didn't really have the ability to look at what is the weather forecast, and it was really just kind of a glorified timer. So that's what I pulled out. I installed the RainMachine device, really easy, 3 screws, took me maybe 15-20 minutes, and so it was a super easy device to install, and went pretty flawless. So really happy with that. Let's start with the pros of this device, kind of the good, and then we'll talk about the bad. So I mentioned it's very easy to install. It looks really slick, right? It's a good looking device. Looks good on the wall. It's small, around maybe a third of the size of the Rainbird device that I pulled out. And it was really easy to just kind of hook everything up, install it. Looks good, right? The touchscreen works really good. Something I think we take for granted now in 2018 is when you get a device and the touchscreen sucks, you know it right away. It's super laggy or whatever. Not a problem at all with the RainMachine. Super good input, types well, all that good stuff. So far, I would say it appears to be working well. It's doing its job. I have it set up to water my lawn every day for around 5 to 10 minutes for each zone. And we've been getting a lot of rain over the past 3 or 4 days, and it hasn't been watering the lawn. It knows. It makes a call out, I think, 3 or 4 times a day to a couple of different weather services, pulls that data down, and it knows what the forecast is, and it's not watering my lawn on the day where it's raining. So I would chalk that up as a win. It's working, right? There's a couple of different ways to access the RainMachine device itself. You can access it through the mobile apps. You can access it through an app on like a tablet, like an iPad, and you can access it through an app on the website, right? It's got a web app as well. All 3 of them work really well. I do want to highlight, though, the web app, right? It's much better than the mobile app. There's a lot more information. It gives you a lot of history and a lot of detail as far as what's going on, which is really kind of what I want from the device. I want to know when it watered, for how long, on which zone, and that's all there in the web app. There's a couple other cool, nice touches that's available in all the apps. Things like being able to give a friendly name to a zone, so it's not just zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. You can have front yard, backyard. You can have things like thumbnails for each zone, so you can pull that up, and it actually, is kind of a good visual cue. It looks really good, in my opinion. It has a ton of integration points. IFTTT, Amazon Echo, Again, there's a ton of integration points. Some of them are a little baffling, like the Echo integration. It's cool, but what's the point? I don't see myself ever saying, you know, Alexa, I muted her. Alexa, water zone 1, right? Like, it just doesn't seem like I'm ever going to be doing that. But you can, it's there, and kudos to them for putting the integration in, because somebody's going to want it, I'm sure. Just not super useful for me. I don't think that there's integrations to things like SmartThings or Wink yet, but I'm guessing those are coming, and quite frankly, I don't really know what I would use that integration for. Like I mentioned with Alexa, it's cool, but I'm not 100% sure how I would use it. There is an IF T channel though, and that, you know, should probably provide me whatever integration points I want. In addition to kind of the in-home, smart home integrations, there's a lot of other integrations with weather services, Weather Underground, that kind of stuff. So there's tons of integration points, really, really cool. And the last thing, and I think this is a big one for RainMachine that a lot of people like, is that it's not constrained to the cloud. When I connect with my phone and the app on my phone, I'm connecting directly to the RainMachine device. I'm not connecting to a cloud service somewhere that then calls back down to the device. No, I'm connecting to the device itself. And that's nice, and that's a big distinction between Rakio, which is, you know, what happens if they go out of business and that cloud service just suddenly goes away, right? Does my irrigation controller become a brick? And in this case, the answer is no. You can still use your irrigation controller. You can still connect to it with the app. All that stuff still works. All right, now let's talk about the cons, the bad. Earlier, I mentioned that this device was super easy to install. And it was. Getting it mounted to the wall was easy. Getting it, you know, connected to my Wi-Fi was easy. But once you get past that, it becomes a little confusing. It's, you know, there's no wizard or tutorial or anything like that. And so, you know, I found myself going through like, okay, well, let me set up my zones. Let me set up my program. How do I want this to work? Do I want to set the same program as what I had, which was watering 2 days a week for, I think, 30 or 40 minutes per zone? Or do I want something, you know, more, you know, kind of like every day? Like, how do I want this set up? And there was really nothing to walk me through that. I just had to kind of go through step by step, and I wasn't quite sure if there was a, you know, preferred order or anything like that. And on top of that, there was a lot of options that were, you know, quite frankly, a little confusing, right? As like a irrigation beginner, right? I didn't really know things like what kind of soil type do I have? What's the grade on the soil? Or, you know, kind of the slope? Do I want to have like a soak-in period? All these things, which are cool to have, right? I'm sure that there are people who like fire this thing up and they're like, oh, that has that. That's awesome. That wasn't me. I was like, oh, that has that. I have no idea what to do with that. And so I left a lot of stuff unchecked. And even, you know, now I'm probably using this thing at a fraction of its capability. Another thing that I will, you know, kind of criticize is it can be hard to know what's going on all the time. So it will, you know, constantly send notifications to you on your phone, even if there's really nothing going on. So for example, I will get a notification that says, hey, your daily watering program started. And then I will get another notification that says, hey, your daily watering program stopped. And that's because it's pouring outside. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, did it really start and stop right away? Did anything happen in that time? Is there something, you know, one of the zones going right now? And I'm not quite sure. And so it can be a little baffling that certain events fire and then close like right after each other. And it just seems like it would make more sense to not even have that event fire at all. Don't even start the daily program if you know it's going to rain and it's not going to run at all. And so that just, you know, kind of added to some of the confusion early on for me. I turned this thing on, it rained, and I was like, oh, okay, well, and then I got an alert. The program started. Oh no, like is it working right? It just seemed to be a little confusing, and so I think maybe some refinement in that process could help. Another thing, you know, earlier I mentioned the web app. I called that out for being really, really good. You know, the other side of the coin to that is that the mobile apps aren't as good, and you know that's how a lot of us use and interact with smart home devices is through a mobile app. I'm okay with there being a web app, and I'm okay with the web app being, you know, better. It just, you know, I wish that all that functionality that was in the web app was in the mobile app, and it's not. A lot of the detail on the history is not in the mobile app, or if it is, it's not presented in a way that's kind of as sexy or as useful as what's in the web app, and it just, they're not the same, and it would be nice if it was cohesive all the way through. And even more worrisome is the fact that that is a web app. And earlier I had mentioned that one of the best parts about the RainMachine is the fact that it's not constrained by any kind of cloud service like a lot of smart home devices are. I use that mobile app and it connects directly into the device that's in my garage. Well, that web app is running in the cloud, right? And that's a problem. If they do go out of business, the web app, which is running in Amazon, and that goes away, now I lose access to the best way to manage this device. So yes, it is completely, kind of separate from the cloud in that the device itself will still work, but the best way to manage this device is through a cloud-based app. And so, hopefully that changes in the future when, maybe they make updates or whatever to the mobile app and bring that same functionality into the mobile app. The last thing I will say as far as kind of the negative or the bad is it's hard to gauge how much you're really saving. A lot of people are going to buy this device like myself to save water and money over their previous irrigation controller, right? So I had a Rainbird, and, a lot of people are going to be in that very same situation as me, where they rip out one, put this one in, and they say, okay, now I want to see how I do. And yes, you can quantify that by saying, well, here's how much water I used month over month, and here's the drop, hopefully, and here is how much money I saved. But the device itself doesn't have any way of telling you that. You have to rely on your water usage and your water bill. The device itself will tell you how much water you're saving by not watering during, a thunderstorm when it's raining. It'll tell you you've saved 1,000 gallons this week, which is awesome because it knows, hey, I'm supposed to be watering today and I'm not going to water, and therefore you saved water. But there's no way to know how much did you save before you put the RainMachine in. And I'm not really going to hold that one against it, because that's going to be a problem regardless of what you're, if it's Reikio, RainMachine, they just don't have that insight into kind of your usage before it got installed. But all that said, I really, really like the device. I'm really looking forward to getting my water bill and seeing how much money did I really save? How much water am I saving? My old irrigation, as I mentioned earlier, schedule was every zone for, I think, 35 minutes. I think that's the number. It goes up and down depending on the season. I would manually set different programs. 35 minutes per zone, 2 days a week. The new schedule is 5 to 10 minutes per zone every day, but with a soak period. So it will, instead of running for, let's just say, 8 minutes for the zone, it will run for like 40 seconds and then switch to another zone, giving that zone some time to absorb the water. I always had a big problem with runoff, and the fact that I can set in a soak time, I didn't even know that was possible, that was something that these controllers did. So I'm really looking forward to, kind of a part 2 video like I mentioned earlier, figuring out how much water am I saving, how much money am I saving, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys. If anybody else has a RainMachine and they want to share any additional information or additional details, maybe some things that you found that work really well. Like I said, there's a ton of settings, so I'd love to hear, maybe some other, thoughts from other folks. Like, hey, this one setting, it's awesome, it's a lifesaver, it'll save you a lot of water. Or anybody else lives in Florida and has one of these things and has found a specific setting for Florida, whether it's a soil type or whatever it might be, that will help. Really love to hear it. So go ahead and leave any feedback in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Hey guys, one last thing. I'm going to do a quick shameless plug for my Tesla referral link. If you are going to be buying a Tesla Model S or X in the near future, or somebody else who's going to be buying an S or X, or any of the solar products like the Powerwall or the solar roof, go ahead and use my link. It'll get you some cool stuff. Thanks.